Oh, it sounds like Saturday's supposed to be a scorcher.
We'll be on the
Cook
lake.
chicken on Saturday.
We'll be on the lake too, so.
Will you? Okay.
Yeah, it could be warm.
Morning.
That stuff here. Eight, seven, right,
You want to look through some of these? Or you did already, then you guys want to look through them?
Electronic.
I looked through them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can get some new puppy.
You get a puppy tomorrow?
Our daughter.
Or your daughter?
He'll be ready to leave his mom tomorrow. So we're
Okay.
just gonna go pick him up after school.
What kind?
Golden retriever.
Oh, that's nice.
He's so cute.
Where's that from?
So,
Oh, here in Iowa.
yeah, it's down by Pocahontas. She's a teacher in Emmitsburg, but she lives somewhere out by Pocahontas.
Hmm.
My sister has all the birds. Daughter has the birds.
Golden Bay, 12 years, but, 110 pounds of love. It was, the owner saw him, I think, when he was 8. And he said he was twice the size of his father. Because that breed is normally 80 to 85.
Well, he said, Megan said that the one that she's getting, the parents are about 60 to 70 pounds.
Yeah, very smart dog, but, I even asked Doc Holmes, I said, am I feeding him too much or anything? He said, no. Not at all.
it is 8 o'clock. Let's stand and do the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
public discussion. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda and minutes dated August 8th.
So moved.
Carter, Jack, you second it?
Until I find out about the one item on here, I'm not sure, but that's approvable. So I'm not gonna-
I'll second.
Discussion? Which one, Jack?
Possible closed session. I'm not sure that should be on it because we haven't had clarification whether it can even be held or not.
From who?
So you're talking.
That would have to be requested from the employee, that's why it's possible.
Yeah.
We're talking about the minutes in last session.
Well, it's a.
The agenda and minutes.
Agenda and minutes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I talked with Todd on how to word that before talking to Tammy on what to put on the agenda, so.
To somebody from IPIB, and they had said that if there's a chance of going into closed session, that you could put possible closed session, just so the public was aware that it was possible. So I think we're,
It still has to be requested by the employee that's being discussed, otherwise we can't go in.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification.
Mhm.
So I would entertain a motion to, we have a motion in a second. Are we ready for a vote?
Yeah.
All those in favor, please say aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carried. Next thing on the agenda is approve the claims and conservation claims. Everybody had a chance to look at them in your folder. Entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Plath, second by Carter. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Unanimous.
Must have got our sweeper. Yeah.
Let me find one. A thick one.
Okay.
So does he sit in your lap then at night?
Pretty much owned whatever territory you decided to leave out. But yes. Lamborghini.
What was his name?
They're maps. Just make sure that you keep them entertained because they're so smart, they get bored. They don't shoot.
Anything.
Yeah.
We got one then.
Sure.
Sure.
Monthly update of Veterans Affairs. Dan, you're up.
Okay, well, July was a pretty busy month. I had 38 phone calls, 52 messages, 47 walk-ins. I had 20 scheduled appointments in the office and one scheduled out of the office. We did 2 transports. We got 4 sets of hearing aids repaired. Currently tracking 1,168 records in the system. I've got 45 claims currently being processed by VA, 3 that are marked ready for decision, 13 under development that I'm currently working on. I've got 1 that's a supplemental in appeal status, and I was able to get another veteran enrolled in VA healthcare. Currently, our state training conference for the fall is scheduled on the 9th through the 12th of October in Altoona at the Shriners Temple. I believe they call it Zaga Ging or something like that. But that's going to be the location of the conference itself. Still working on the agenda. Haven't seen what that's going to look like yet. Currently, I'm registered and I'm working on getting 4 of the commissioners registered for their 1 day of training on Monday the 9th. There will be a director's board meeting there on the evening of the 9th at 4:30 that I will also attend. And then I started programming myself for some computer-based training, focusing primarily on claims work and within the specialty of development for Camp Lejeune claims, burn pits and airborne hazards claims, and then various changes to the program called VBMS that I use to track my federal claims because there's been a multitude of changes with that here recently. So those will be self-paced online in addition to my mandatory required classes I gotta do every year. Some of the activities that I did for outreach, I did attend the Kossuth County and Palo Alto County Economic Development Breakfast back on the 27th, and they had speaker Debbie Durham present, a very good speaker. I attended and participated in the color guard for the best night at the races the next night on the 27th. A lot of fun there. At the time, had been planning to attend the Purple Heart Day in Whittemore for the Legion Post. I did actually attend that as well. And then this Thursday in Des Moines, Fort McCoy is providing its annual retiree appreciation conference. So I'm scheduled to attend that, having been retired for 10 years. They're going to present information on TRICARE benefits for retirees, the Department of Finance and Accounting, how the retiree pay works, gray area retirees, what that looks like. And those are folks that earned a retirement in the reserve or the guard, still at working age, but have not attained the age of 60. So at age 59, they have to apply for that benefit. And there's a process to that. So hopefully they'll cover that a little bit more in depth. They're also going to be looking at survivor benefit plan, which is basically an annuity for the surviving spouse of a military retiree, should that person pass before their spouse. So that's some of the things they're going to cover on Thursday. Still waiting for the grant monies from the state, from the Department of Veterans Affairs. It's going kind of slow because they've had a number of personnel changes and how they're doing business. So it's just a matter of kind of waiting until they get around to getting those dispersed. Still focusing on the VA healthcare enrollment. I've got one waiting in the wings, possibly two that I'm currently working on. Still working on a claim for a veteran to get his bathroom updated with a shower under the HISA grant. He did not provide a good enough itemized estimate for the remodel. So in order to get that HISA grant approved by VA, you got to have a more detailed estimate. The other thing was, I just wanted to double check. I did an update on my trip to Marshalltown to the vet's home. Did everybody get that? I emailed it to you probably a couple weeks or so ago. So it's kind of a skinny on the whole trip there as far as going over there. I will, like I said, I'll be gone Thursday, and then Friday I'm going to take a day of vacation because our post has Bossy Bingo, and I'm on the kitchen committee and cooking the chickens and shucking the corn and all that. So I took a day off there to be able to do that. But August has been very busy as well. It's shaping up very nice. Subject to your questions, that's really all I've got.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
You guys have a good day.
You too.
Good weekend.
Discussion to approve the urban renewal report for FY 22-23. It's in your folder.
I did provide some extra information just
Yeah, I see that.
to help them kind of ask questions about how it works. So I've just provided extra information to help with that. So
Yeah, and we'll probably have to have some more conversations about it later on, but
Yeah, it's all new to me. I mean, sometime maybe we should,
so Kyle and I talked about this previously. This Buffalo urban renewal is good for 10 years, which would make it up in fiscal year 2024. So
Okay.
we're gonna have to talk to the attorney about into how to renew that.
sure.
So
That had to do with the Gold Eagle out
Yeah.
there.
the
Yeah.
green bin size. Yep.
Yes.
They get a tax break.
So is it that when they initially come to you and say, hey, we want to build this or do this as a business, they would get it's not a tax break or abatement, but it's
So what happens is when it started, they took the value of that property and froze it.
Right,
And so then now they take every year to take what that property is valued at.
yep,
And the difference between that and the frozen value is what's available in TIF monies. So in this agreement, Gold Eagle gets 50%,
yep,
the city of Titanca gets 25, and the county gets 25.
okay,
And then that money is used for the city for
Economic.
renewal,
yep,
Gold Eagle for their payments or
sure, sure,
whatever, and then the city for the renewal as well, or the county for renewal as well. So that's it in a nutshell.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
okay,
And this was started back in 12, right?
it was
12,
that long ago, okay.
Yeah, so it was quite a while back.
but we didn't collect any monies until 13, 14.
Sure,
We still have a bridge to build.
yep,
I'd like some more.
yep,
Mhm.
I need to approve the urban renewal report.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
all right,
Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Did Phil, I didn't see Phil come in.
nope.
No, he's down at a conference in
Is he?
Des Moines. He said if we needed anything, we could call him, but
I don't think we really need anything,
yeah, we already have.
Study.
right?
Yep,
Yeah,
So I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of the chassis for the EMS ambulance.
so moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Had it all last week.
Yeah, we had it last week and then the
email.
email clarification.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried unanimous. Donna, you're gonna have anything to say about the handbook, what's in our folder? Anything?
I just wanted to review it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I read any comments or anything?
Doug did have some comments, I think he emailed.
Right.
Good.
I don't remember Doug's email.
Maybe he just sent it to the clerk.
I didn't remember receiving them. Were they issues that were,
I think. Donna, I think I printed them out.
One of the questions was on the sexual or sexual harassment training. We've included that on page 7 of the yearbook. That's something that years ago was asked of us to offer that annually. Historically, we have not done that annually. We're talking about the sexual harassment training. Last year, at our safety, first annual safety training, and Todd did do a presentation. He's willing to do that, but then we also need to address other areas in the county. Letting that training, I've looked at a couple of videos, I know those aren't ideal, but I think it's a topic that's sensitive enough that, we want to make sure it's being friendly.
So do you think any changes need to be made in the handbook about that? Or as long as we know who's doing it, or how does that turn?
I don't know if there's any wording that needs to be changed, in particular just on that offering, unless somebody has some suggestions. I think in addition to that, there was some questions regarding the notification and the procedures for if there were an incident, if, I think it's outlined, I guess I have to kind of look at that wording. If it's a member, employee member, or if it's somebody else that harassment. I understand. was page 8. Number 6.
Number 6,
Sexual harassment stuff on page 3.
it's on page 8 here.
It's
Number
number
6 on page 8.
On the bottom.
That's on page 8.
Are you looking at
We've got so many things going, the page numbers, I tried to do a table of contents, but until we get everything in there, it's gonna be really dicey.
Yeah, because I was looking at the
That's right.
Word version because that shows the changes. This one doesn't have stuff in red.
I did put the changes, people seem to have difficulty with the word changes, so I've tried to not do this. If you wanna see that, that's fine, but
Well, and I was trying to look back and forth between the two, so yeah.
that's probably why we're at this. When you go back and forth, it's extremely challenging.
I mean, it's just a different page number for this, so it doesn't matter.
I guess my question is, more or less words gonna make any difference?
But in the past, historically, what we've done is we've presented this and then we've had it reviewed by someone that is an expert in this. I think you could spend forever
Right.
on a handbook. But again, it comes back to department head of education. And a lot of our department heads unfortunately are out today. So they're not here. But I think it's a continual need to have a reminder. And I think I said this, I think to Tammy yesterday, the handbook is always present, but it seems like when there's a question, that's what we refer to. And we're just not as familiar with it. Or A, because it's a day-to-day, but it is important.
And I just thought of this when Donna mentioned review. Has this gone to our attorneys?
now, but the original one was approved by, I think, Renee, so this one will go to others.
Historically, Renee has removed them all.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's what I was
So
thinking.
this
They
one
should
will
look
go
at
to
it.
others.
Right, it's not created by employees, it's pretty much just a review, trying to tighten up some of the wording,
Yeah,
trying to make it flow, but again,
We thought that you guys making the changes you wanted before we spent extra money. So
I think it,
I thought it was fine the
there.
way it is.
but yeah,
Anybody have any comments on the handbook? If not, I think just don't see a need for a motion here today, do you?
I think we can approve it all at the end.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think today would be out of
just
place.
kind of going over a section at a time, I think is fine.
Yeah.
so
Thank you, Donna. Appreciate it.
you wanted to keep going to sections like this now, is that what?
That'd be fine.
Mm.
How many total seconds are there? I'm trying
there's
to remember.
6,
6, right?
and then there's pretty much as a flavor.
Yep, yep.
And some of them are right here.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Oh, this all looks good.
Yeah, I mean, most of the changes were under 1.6 for job vacancies to clarify the language there. Personnel files, 1.7 was updated a little bit, but there wasn't a ton of changes in this section.
And we'll move on to the exit interview that was held on 8/3/23, and evaluation of county engineer. Kyle, your name's on it. Where you want to start?
Let's see. Doug, would you like this to go into closed session or not?
You gotta tell him what you're going into closed session for, or what.
The topics on the agenda, I don't know what
The exit
we should
interview
say
or
before that
or
question. It's
evaluation of the county engineer, which one?
all tied together.
I see no reason to go into closed session.
Okay. As I said last week, I was the only one from the board personally there. Carter was on the phone. I guess,
Could I ask a question?
Yes, please.
We are talking about an exit interview, is that correct?
That is
Who
part of the
would be the employee?
Dustin Hanson.
Thank you.
I guess one of my first concerns is when the resignation was sent to us. It was sent to you and the whole board, I believe. And I replied all asking for you to coordinate with us for our schedules. Never got a response. And then the exit interview was scheduled. No one else from the board was there physically, as I already said. And you weren't even there. That's kind of concerning. I texted you asking where you were after it was over. And you said you were on vacation. Could it have not been done another day, like the next day you were back?
Typically, we do the exit interviews on the last day of employment. So Lisa, our office manager, was present. I believe in the letter that I sent to Mr. Hanson and copy to the Board of Supervisors. The exit interview will include discussion of leave balances, final county compensation, and your insurance coverages. So an exit interview isn't necessarily something I feel that I necessarily have to be there. A representative of the road department was there.
Well, in your office's own form, the exit interview has 5 questions here. One is, please explain your reason for leaving. What did you like most about your job? What did you like least about your job? How'd you feel about your pay and benefits, and any comments? So would that not all pertain to the exit interview discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there's quite a few things that were said at that, which I felt you should have been present for. And I don't know where you want me to start. Have you reviewed Lisa's notes for what was said?
I have, and I've also discussed the exit interview with my office manager. She's on vacation right now. I would have asked her to be present. I think Donna Nielsen was present as well. And I did ask Donna if she would be present for this discussion.
Well, I guess since you haven't requested to go into closed session, I'll just start. Number 1, please explain your reason for leaving. He specifically named.
Do not talk about that employee. He's not here, and if you say, and if you're gonna say anything about it, I'm leaving the room. That employee's not here, he did not request it, and if you're gonna.
Which employee? Dustin?
If you're gonna speak specifically about anything he commented on, I'm gonna leave the room.
I guess.
If you're gonna continue with that, then I'm gonna leave until you're done.
I guess I've talked to him a couple times. I have no concerns that he would be worried about what I said or what he said.
Well, I'm not gonna be part of any comments that you have wrote down there from him without his permission.
Why didn't you show up to it?
It's not our job to go to exit interviews. Donna Nielsen is the HR person. She needs to be there, and somebody from the management of the office. We don't typically go to exit interviews. That's Donna Nielsen's job as an HR.
So you're saying when you have an employee that specifically requests the board to be there, you're not going to show up? Because that's what his email said.
I don't recall the email. So if you want, if you're gonna talk about anything he said, I'm not gonna be part of it. I'm gonna protect myself. So my question, are you gonna continue to, you gonna go through that and speak specifically about what the employee said?
I think there's several things you all should be aware of from that exit interview.
My question, are you going to continue, are you gonna speak specifically about comments that that employee made?
It does not have to be an open session.
The employee is here to request a closed session.
Doug Miller is here to request a closed session.
Employee has to read.
I'm
21.5.
talking about the employee that's sitting in front of us.
May I?
No, you're not. You're gonna make, you're about to read something about whether a statement that an ex-employee made.
Doug, you had a question?
I just want to make it a point, I do not know in chapter 21.5C where it states that somebody can go into closed session about an exit interview. So I think it should be clear. 21.5I, I think is what you put on the. That's what's on there. You have that, and I'd like to know how you believe that I could ask for a closed session because of that topic. Keep on saying it. Now, please give me your legal opinion.
That section,
Basis.
that section says to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session is what is in the law.
Okay. but
Your
what are we talking
performance.
about right now?
Your performance in regard to things that were said at the exit interview can easily fall under that section.
And in my job description, I answer to the transfer station manager.
You set up the exit interview.
Okay, go ahead.
So you want me to continue in
Sure.
open session?
You're gonna talk about something that that person needs to be here to. That's gonna be
Confirm.
that's gonna be hearsay.
No, it's not
And that
hearsay.
employee isn't gonna be here to back it up. And you might say something that he didn't say. So are you gonna make specific reference to what Destiny Hanson said?
That's what my notes are from.
I'm going to leave, I will leave the meeting until it's over.
I think I'm gonna leave with him, because I don't think we can use hearsay.
Protect myself from being,
You wanna call Todd and just double check with him? I mean, I don't know how you have a review of an exit interview without stating something the employee in the exit interview said.
employee isn't here.
I understand that.
Have guys come up before you start.
Yeah.
Hey,
just
would
why
you
don't
be able
ask
to come up
Todd?
to the boardroom? We're past that. We are up to the item of the possible closed session, and Jack and Roger have some questions about that. If you. Okay, thanks. Are you here for the handbook, Roger?
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Alright, done with that.
I got three truck going on. I'll go back up there.
See ya.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is he coming right away?
He said he would come up.
No. I just.
Then one way is repeated here, indirect.
It's for cause. It's for cause or without.
Hey, Todd?
Do you want to ask your question or do you want me to
I
summarize?
was about to embark on the exit interview and he's going to talk about what an ex-employee said in his exit interview. And I don't think it's appropriate and because that employee is not here. And what he says about that employee could damage that employee's reputation. I don't know what he's gonna say, but it's gonna make specific remarks that employee gave him in an exit interview.
They're not negative comments towards the employee that left. It was his comments to us. Not negative about himself. He's also states away by now.
I think
so.
an exit interview is considered private information to be put in in a folder not to be made public.
The last part of the agenda item is evaluation of the Kossuth County engineer because of things that were said at that exit interview. So Doug would be the one to request a closed session, not Dustin.
Well, I presume that that what you have to determine is what the purpose of the agenda item is. Is it to evaluate the engineer or is it to discuss the exit interview? If the exit interview is something that's going to be part of the evaluation, then it's obviously pursuant to the code of Iowa, the evaluation. of the
21-5.
person's
5I.
Performance is completely within the realm of a closed session.
And that's what
I don't know what the agenda item is for, but looking at it before I came up here, it did say evaluate, so if that's what the intent of the agenda item is, then it can go in a closed session. Doug would have to review it, or would have to request it.
And I've asked him if he would like to go into closed session, and he said no.
Is this a evaluation of the Kossuth County engineer, or is
Yeah.
this the evaluation of the engineer, at the Kossuth County transfer station and landfill?
It's an evaluation of you.
Again, I'll ask the same question because I wear different hats in Kossuth County. So is this an evaluation of the Kossuth County engineer, which is the engineer for the secondary road department? Or is this an evaluation of the engineer for the transfer station and the Kossuth County landfill? Two separate funds, total separate jobs.
I guess. Two separate jobs, two separate funds, but the same individual, so I don't know that there's any difference.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I think, the reality is that whatever was discussed in the exit interview as it pertains to that employee, since that employee is not here and not present, I don't believe that should be something that you get into, but if it has something to do with.
Okay, but he's gonna make statements that employee made. And we have no permission to repeat what he said. but he's about to.
I have no idea what the.
I don't either.
Exit interview.
I don't either, but I think whatever that employee said in private should be, it's his.
The whole board was
He-
asked to
He's
be at
not
that.
here, he is not here to back up what Kyle's about to say. I don't know if he's gonna say, and I think that employee should be here to back up, whatever Kyle's gonna say or give permission to repeat what he said in private on his exit interview.
Yes, could I ask maybe a more clear question of if the employee whose exit interview was being conducted made a comment regarding the performance of the Kossuth County engineer to board present, is that an okay thing to state in a public session? Yeah,
It depends on the comment.
right.
I wasn't present at this. I mean, if it was, if it's something that is, uh, potentially, defamatory or slanderous, I have no idea what was said during that exit interview. I wasn't.
I think that employee.
So I mean, I can't give you a blanket yes or no
Yep.
on that, because I don't know what
I
you're going to
feel that
talk
that
about.
ex-employee should be here to publicly make those statements to the entire public and not be read from something that Kyle wrote down.
He gave you the option of being there. You chose not to show up. That's not on him.
But you didn't have, but he's not here to make that a public statement. That, even if I was there, that was still a private meeting held between that, and that goes into his record, but it's not to be made a public document. That is a private document. And he is not given permission to make that public, or he should have been here, or she, to speak those words directly to the public.
So how do we get those comments? How do we talk about those comments as a board and with the Kossuth County engineer, since those comments were board? Anytime the board meets at a majority, we have to notify the public and it'd be an open session.
Correct.
So how do we go about discussing that?
Well, as I had indicated earlier, I believe to all of the board that, if it's considered ministerial, it's not subject to open meetings. Ministerial is something where you do not have to exercise any discretion or judgment. If it was an exit interview, again, I could foresee that there is a possibility of that coming up. It all depends on the exit interview and how it was conducted and what the topic of the conversation was. But again, not knowing what the discussion was and how it proceeded, I can say that there is I would say even probability that would be considered ministerial. Okay, that's not subject to, it's just the function of your job as an employer. That's something that will probably be discussed without it being subject to the open meeting. If that's the purpose, I don't know. I mean, there were two things on that agenda item that I saw before I came up that, it seemed like there's two different parts of it. So looking at it from the standpoint of a closed session, and evaluation is clearly without any question subject to potential closed meetings as long as the person being evaluated requests it. So now you go to the question, well, someone said this during an exit interview. I have no idea what that is. Again, I go back to, I don't know, you know, I think you probably should, to a certain extent, tread lightly in that. If it's a subject of evaluation that you want to discuss, based upon information gleaned without going into, what was actually said, or, you know, even potentially the context of what was said. I think that that's fine. But I think that there's, you know, a few that were in the exit interview and a few that were not. You know, maybe that's something that, the actual evaluation based upon that information should be done when all members of the board are apprised of what the exit interview revealed, if anything. I don't know what else I can say, because I can't give you any blanket, rule on that, because, you know, I'm somewhat in the dark, but that's basically the law. You know, so.
And I know I did ask you about the exit interview, if that had to be an agenda thing for us all to attend or not, and you had said the ministerial part, and I was the only one
I
physically
didn't
there.
say exactly that.
Well,
What I said,
you already
I
said
can't
it.
tell you, you know, that every exit interview is going to be considered ministerial.
Yeah,
It comes down to whether you're exercising your discretion or your deference on it, or your decision-making ability. That's open meetings right there. But if it's just a matter of conducting an exit interview where there is no use of judgment, or discretion, then in that situation, it would be considered ministerial. That's the definition of ministerial.
Mhm.
You know, that's the part that the public needs to know, is what you're basing your decisions on, what you're making your judgment calls on. You know, to exercise your job as an employer, probably most of the time, it's going to be ministerial.
Well, again, I think if that employee had a beef with Doug, it should be, that person should be here and make it a public statement, not something that somebody wrote down in a private meeting.
Yeah, you don't want to air anything that's just based upon a potential.
And with that person being here publicly, Doug would have a chance to defend himself. Without that person being here to confront Doug directly, Doug he's in limbo. He has no chance to confront that individual and defend himself.
I think
That's
that's
the exit interview, but, so I guess moving forward, let's just say I went and talked to Jack and said, Jack, here's what was talked about in the exit interview. That's what I want you to be aware of. But I can't go and then talk to Kyle, and then talk to Roger, and then talk to Josh about, hey, here's what was said in the exit interview and what I think. Or even if not what I think, just here's what was said in the exit interview. So how do we communicate as a board to discuss what, or do we just not discuss it? I mean,
No, that's not what I'm saying. If it's part of that exit interview and it's something that is that was revealed, I mean, you can share that information with other members of the board. But the reality is that you're dangerously close to now moving into an open meetings issue, dealing with an evaluation. An exit interview, you know, you're just receiving information, right? Maybe asking questions to clarify. And it's not something that, you know, you're making a determination of a person's employment based upon that information. That person's already gone.
Right.
They've already resigned or
Yep.
or whatever. And during that interview, you're receiving information presumably to better, you know, the employment situation for the rest of the employees. Ministerial in most situations, but moving that to evaluation, now if you're making determinations based upon that information, now you're using that to use your discretion and judgment individually. As I mentioned, if it's a, you know, and I would like to further my thoughts on this, but where I'm going with it is the sharing of information is not necessarily a violation of open meetings. the, or receiving information, I should say, sharing, receiving. But that information to be used in a purpose that is part of judgment discretion is where you're running into the problem with your scenario there.
Right.
How do you share that information?
Isn't closed session the only option to really do that?
Or have an employee send us a letter, stating that I give my permission to give.
But that would be going, just shooting from the hip here, that would be going further than what most people do. I mean, when you do an exit interview, you're acting in that situation as an employer, right? I mean, you're receiving information. Well, I would say that probably many times an employee who's leaving is gonna share some thoughts that they have, some which are maybe exaggerated or embellished because they're upset at whoever they're sharing that information about. And so you have to be careful and cautious in that regard. But it doesn't mean that you can't act upon it and try and find, clearer understanding of what is actually going on, which is what an evaluation is, which is part of what you do and part of open meeting. But, so recognizing that whoever is leaving employment may have a grudge and an axe to grind. Okay. That's where, it may not be 100% accurate. It may not be something that is, anything more than, it's my final blow before I leave. May or may not, I don't know. That's where your process as the evaluation, or your process as the employer and the evaluator in that situation is going to have to get to the root cause of it. And if that root cause of it is something that can be accomplished through an evaluation, then yeah, certainly that is, but it doesn't necessarily have to, well, this is what so-and-so said. You can do it in a way that wouldn't necessarily say exactly, or even through any way, shape, or form, what the individual said. This is just what you need to find out. I think that's something that's common to most employers when they do exit interviews. Okay, well, this was a problem. How can I address it? How can I resolve it? What do I need to do to change that so it's not something that I hear again in an exit interview?
Well, I guess if we proceed with this, I would want you to stay.
Well, I'm not gonna stay in it because I don't think that's something that,
Well, because if any question that a board member asked, I would like to know whether it's an appropriate question or it's going outside the bounds of ministerial. Without you hearing the question.
well, my suggestion would be this, Jack, is that, you're operating off information that is unknown to you at this point in time. So am I. All right. If it's a matter of being able to, and I can find that out for you, it's never happened before, at least not in my experience. But, if it's something that, the board needs to get together to share this exit interview information so that you're all aware of it, then you probably should do that if you can. I'm not saying that you necessarily can as a board sitting, with a majority or more. That's something that, I'd like to do a little bit of digging on to make sure that that's fine. I believe it's going to be considered ministerial because it has nothing to do with your judgment, but it's going to potentially affect what you're going to do in your evaluation.
So I have one question. We have a employee that wasn't happy and retired, did an exit interview. And the second half of this is evaluate Kossuth County engineer. How can we evaluate a Kossuth County engineer on one person's exit interview? There's a lot more to the Kossuth County engineer than an exit interview given by an employee that was disgruntled. That's my point.
there's no limit on the number of evaluations we can do.
Well, to answer your question, I mean, anytime you, let's just take it out of the context of Kossuth County. Okay, let's say ABC Corporation. Okay, they receive, or they have someone who leaves employment. Okay, the corporation heads do an exit interview. They find that there's a conflict between this employee and someone else. Regardless, maybe it's a supervisor of the corporation, maybe it's just another employee. Is the corporation going to just let that go and continue to potentially fester? My belief is, no, they're going to bring the person in who potentially has this issue and discuss it with them to try and correct it. I think that's what would be at least the best and appropriate course of action, if that's the case. I don't know. All right. So in that situation, as far as, the employer, the hypothetical employer, would be the same here. I mean, it's whether or not the evaluation happens right now, I don't know. It depends on what the information is. But, I don't think that that's something that is out of the capable.
I would agree with you, Ben, but in that case, that person needs to come in here in a public meeting and make those statements publicly, or come in here and ask for a closed session.
He's not an employee.
Why would that be a requirement of him? He already gave his
My
review to us as a company.
my concern with that, Jack, is, I mean, then why do an exit interview?
Exactly.
I mean, why would you do an exit interview if you don't want to use the information you receive from the exit interview to hopefully better the employment situation of the people in Kossuth County? Or at least in the county government. I mean, that's why you do exit interviews, right? You find out, okay, what's going on, what's good, what's bad, whatever's bad. Try and improve the good to make it even better. What's bad, try and correct it. I mean, I think that's the whole purpose of an exit interview. So
Right.
otherwise, then don't do them. I mean, because if it's not going to create any activity by the employer to better the situation. why
But
do
you
them?
can use it, but Donna could go to Doug if this exit interview.
But that's not Doug's employer.
No, but she's HR, and she has the right to go to Doug and say, I have, your employee said this and this and this. And maybe we need to work on your management style. We need to do some anger management.
Just before we continue any further, do the two of you have any desire to hear what was said in the exit interview at all? And if not, then that's the whole point of sharing as a board, and we might as well just move on to the next agenda item, because otherwise we're wasting Todd's time too.
We have a trial going on right now, so I'm kind of limited in time. I mean, okay. To build off what Supervisor Nath is saying, I mean, you will be evaluating, I assume, Doug, as part of the contractual obligations, during the course of budget workshops were evaluated, through conversation if necessary, but the question is it something that has to be acted on today? And that's not something I can answer because I don't know what was discussed. But, it's, I think that the reality is, and that's a very fair question that Supervisor Nath said. I mean, if you want to know, my intent then would be to find out how that information can be shared before it's shared so that you're not violating the open meetings law. And then if that's the case, we can address step one because, some of the board members are unaware of that information. But then the second thing is, okay, how do you go through the evaluation process and what should you do as far as notice to the public? And notice to Doug, because Doug's sitting there, he's got, like you mentioned, 2 hats that he was wearing. What hat is he going to have to be evaluated on? I don't know if that's necessarily determinative of the notice. I mean, I wear a lot of hats too, but the reality is I'm the Kossuth County attorney that covers a lot of different areas that the county government has. So I don't know. I mean, that's some direction you find. I don't know if you can share that. If you can, I'll let you know and how you go about doing it. If everybody wants to know what was said. So you kind of have, everybody has an understanding what's going to be brought up during the evaluation. And then if you want to evaluate Doug, then you put it on the agenda, much the same as what you did. And it is a possible closed session. It's up to Doug to want to request that. You know, I know from where I sit, I mean, we rarely discuss in any type of a situation, venue or forum, the exact words of what we're saying. But the cause and reason for the action is something that's fully capable of being discussed. Okay? It's not, this person said this, that could be defamatory. All right, but hey, you know, we have some concerns about this, if you do. How can we make it better? What can we do? What's the root of it? What can we do to make it better? Yeah, that's your purpose. Right? It's not to degrade anybody. It's to try and make the county better. That's what all of our purpose is. I mean, it's how can we do things to make the county better? So you tell me what you want me to do.
You want to discuss it, or do you want to just go on to the next agenda item then, and then we can figure out how to share information?
I know some of that happened in the exit interview, so.
Okay.
But I wasn't there. Except Jack, you want?
Yeah, I guess clarification, how to share that information, I guess.
Okay, so then I will look up and determine a plan for you guys, if it's possible to do it. And I'm not trying, and this isn't something that's going to be done for everybody's information to some way subvert the rules of open meeting. Ministerial actions are not open meetings. If it is a ministerial action, I will let you know. If it's not, if it has to be something that is consistent with the rules, then that's what we'll follow. But that's the first goal then, to let you know, so you can, if it's possible, share with each other the information obtained from the exit interview. After that, then it's up to you how you want to use that information. You're the employer. At that point, it's an open meeting. I know that, all right? If you're in an open meeting and you're evaluating the performance of an individual who's with the county government, it is an open meeting and will be discussed in open unless the person who's being evaluated wants to go in closed session. Okay, and that you have to live with, right? But the first thing is to determine whether or not that information can be shared among all of the supervisors in a way that doesn't violate.
So
We'll be in touch then, yeah.
Carter, it would be fair to say that you want to share some of that information. Kyle, you want to share some of it?
Correct.
Then we'll put it on the agenda item for a future board meeting and we'll get on with today's meeting. I think would be the appropriate thing unless you think it's not.
Well, put what on the agenda?
I mean, I wouldn't even put it.
We get-
My point is that if it has to go on the agenda item based upon my research, then we'll put it on at that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd say we wait for Todd's guidance on
Okay.
that specifically.
And I'll get to that. Like I said, we have a trial going on this week, but you know, I should be able to get something to you by the end of the week, the first part of it.
There is no hurry on
I
it.
understand.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, just to finish with that, you know, that's why we do exit interviews to try and make things better. So I don't think it should be something that's potentially delayed indefinitely. So.
Yep.
Yes.
Next thing on the agenda is appoint a manager for the landfill and transfer station. We had a meeting last week.
I'd say just my primary concern would be in our handbook, what we just went over this morning in section 1.6. Says it is the county's policy to fill job vacancies with the most qualified person possible. It is the county's policy to advertise position openings on the county website and post it in the courthouse on the second floor for 10 days. Kossuth County reserves the right to use other recruiting sources to fill open positions at their discretion. And application forms are available. So
That is the version with the potential changes. We looked at the current version that's in effect and old version, so to speak.
well, either way.
Yeah, that doesn't show the changes on there.
Okay,
It is county's policy to fill job vacancies with the most qualified person possible. It is the county's policy to advertise position openings, and then in red, strike through is in the local newspaper when necessary. Red additions, it's on the county website and posted in the courthouse on the second floor for 10 days. And the right to use other recruiting sources as well. And then the old second paragraph is whenever a non-deputy position becomes available, a notice of such opening will be posted in the courthouse on the second floor bulletin at least 10 calendar days before the deadline for filling the position. Notice will contain the position title, brief job description, and minimum hiring specifications. And then the other paragraph that's in there has no changes.
so was this procedure in our policy followed or necessary for the appointment of a manager prior to
I
us
feel
being able to do that?
It's like a deputy. I think you just said something about a non-deputy position.
This
Is the
is
manager
not
of the
a
transfer
deputy.
station a deputy?
I would say that very similar.
A deputy,
And who determines, who will be determining the most qualified person?
Well, you will be. But I'm asking if we need to,
I did not advertise the Carter, you know that.
okay?
I was given the.
I'm saying, do we need
I
to
was
before
given
appointing
the
somebody?
resignation 2 weeks prior to the resignation date.
Yeah,
You know it.
I know that, yeah. I'm saying that's still within
Okay.
the 10 days. Are we supposed to
Yes.
follow that or?
I don't know, it's a manager position. I have advertised for the other positions at the transfer station.
deputies are under elected officials.
So I'm asking, I don't know that. Our county policy is fairly clear. Do we need
Okay,
to
so-
do that prior to appointing?
Will the board allow me to do the job? And who is the department head at the transfer station?
Well, you are the department head.
So will the board, if I put the advertisement up, will the board allow me to do this?
Yeah, that's what seemed appropriate. I'm just,
So,
if that is our process of hiring an employee,
I guess,
promoting an employee,
I don't know what the difference is when a deputy in an elected official's office retires, resigns. Evidently, that department head, that elected official can appoint a deputy acts in the absence of the elected official. Through their word.
I don't think the board of supervisors can tell an elected official.
No,
what they can and
that's not what I'm saying.
Or,
I'm saying this is so similar. I mean, this is,
appointing a deputy would be under the authority of that elected official by the power vested in them from the voters.
so we have it on the agenda to appoint a manager for the.
and I did not
County.
put this on the agenda, by the way.
So we are not
Somebody
going
else
to
put
do
this
it,
on the
or we're
agenda.
going to do it.
Well, I think.
It was from the discussion last week.
It was clear from last week's
The
discussion and I
manager,
did not put this
he
on the
has the
agenda.
person who he feels is qualified to do it.
That's fine.
And he recommends that appointment. Then we should act on that, and he'll advertise them for replacement for that individual who is assistant manager.
He's not assistant manager now anyway.
I'm just asking why we didn't follow our county's policy and the hiring of an employee into a new position. That's all.
So,
We did have ample time. Even with,
ample time.
well,
2 weeks.
10 days,
How soon?
10 days is within 2 weeks.
Where
Even
do I have to again read that? Where does it have to be advertised at?
Section 1.6.
Yeah, read it. What all does it have to be advertised? According to our handbook right now.
In the local newspaper.
Okay, how long does it take to get into the local newspaper?
I believe you have to get in by Tuesday at noon, Wednesday at noon,
Monday.
Monday at noon.
Monday.
And the email was sent to us resigning
Local
on
newspaper, I think that if you look at
Thursday, I believe.
Soy City and Bancroft, you'll see that it's Friday.
Friday, Friday, yeah.
Okay, the email was sent to us on Thursday.
Yeah,
And
so I'm supposed to just drop everything and get that going very. That's fine, we'll get it done.
I guess there's other things I would say, but they kind of tie in with the discussion we had before, so
Well, there's always two sides to a story.
I'm not,
I'm aware of that.
this has nothing to do with any
Yeah,
individual being
yeah, I-
appointed. This is just our county's policy in the handbook.
Well, again, Doug has the authority to promote an employee. And hire or, to bring somebody in off the street that has no knowledge of the transfer station, he has an employee who knows how to run it. And Doug feels he's qualified or she's qualified, that he should be allowed to appoint that person and then he advertises for the one for a replacement for the person that he promoted.
Based on the handbook, which was last fully approved before Carter and I were both on the board, that is not the case, Jack.
I would be voting to approve a position that was against our county policy. I mean, that's how I see it.
And a policy that we didn't create either.
So you're gonna continue to have road employees substitute at the transfer station until we do something?
I would make a motion to table this until proper posting has been completed to comply with our county policy.
I have a motion by Stecker. I have a second,
I would second.
second by Carter. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, do a roll call vote.
Glass,
No,
Nat,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes,
Jerks.
No, motion stymied.
motion fails 2-2.
Yep.
well.
We'll move on to the next thing on the agenda.
Decision made, so just let's move on.
Yeah, we'll have to move on. Decision to approve the SCS engineer's proposal to complete landfill and transfer station annual environmental compliance work. Doug, you have any comments before we make a motion to approve?
Well, I did look at the costs, Murr Engineering have been, charging us for the last 2 years. I did provide that to the Board of Supervisors. As you can see in the printouts, the totals that were approved were, $25,000 in 2021 and, almost 40,000 in 2022. Did not get anything for calendar year 2023. The proposal is for the remainder of 2023, which would be fall work, environmental work. The 2024 activities, 26,710, 25 activities, 26,855, and 26 is that same 26,855. They also have an agreement to provide professional services that would be on call. So they define their services similar to what we're charged from Murr. So we do have a list of if that is happening and what their costs are. I think that the SCS, very reputable around the state of Iowa and the nation for environmental with landfill operations. They're very familiar with Kossuth County's landfill. A lot of their employees were employed by a company called Barker Lamar back in the early 2000s. Nathan Nord has done our plans for different things. They're familiar with our landfill. They're familiar with our transfer station. And I would recommend that the board would approve their proposals and further to authorize the chair to sign the proposals.
Do I have a motion to approve the engineering firm? SCS. Carter? I'll second your motion, Carter. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried unanimous.
Thank you.
We had some construction in the right of way.
Yes, we do have a few items to take care of. Construction and right away. The first is we do have plans for two federally funded bridge projects. We're planning to let on November 21 of 2023. These will be let down at the Department of Transportation. One is located south of Titonka on the pavement, the safe pavement where the bridge is being constructed. And then the other one is P30 south of Hobarton on the both Hobarton roads. So the board would sign those plans. I'd appreciate it. We'll get them sent to the Department of Transportation so they can be let.
Everybody okay with signing?
Yeah.
The other one is we did, contractor moved on yesterday to a bridge in Seneca Township located on the north line of section 11 of Seneca Township. So I'd like the board to act on a resolution to close that road for construction.
I'd make a motion to close the road.
15. Resolution number is 08-15-2301. And that will be to close the road for a bridge. Mr. Stecker makes a motion. Do I have a second? Jack seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, do a roll call vote, please.
Plath,
Yes.
Nath,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes.
Jerks.
Yes.
I have a few of this. Thank you.
Yesterday.
Had a head start.
Thanks.
Thank you.
That usually signed.
Thank you. And then the last bit of construction of the road right away down to the east of West Bend. The Apostolic Church is, my understanding, they are putting in a sump pump in their basement to lower the water table. If you're familiar with that area, they want to drain that water to the south. And there really is no road ditch, very little drainage there. So they have discussed with Wayne Grimm to outlet that on his property, go under the road and outlet it on his property into the road ditch. We have been visiting with the Apostolic Church. We're trying to put together some sort of an agreement. Kossuth County would allow this work to be completed. We're not responsible to provide drainage. We're not responsible for the material. If there would be a failure, we're not responsible for any damage to the outlet. We need to have Mr. Grimm and the Apostolic Church both sign that agreement, as well as Kossuth County. We're very close to getting that agreement taken care of and signed, but we don't have it today. They want to do the work. They may want to do the work this week yet. So if they were to have a contractor doing this work, is the board concerned about anything there? If I would give them verbal permission to do that and take, as long as we have the agreement signed and in hand, just not approved by the board of supervisors.
As long as we have the paperwork taken care of, I'm fine with it.
Very good. That's all the construction of the road right away.
Thank you, Doug. You want to do discussions in boards and community boards?
We still,
Yeah. Any more discussion, Doug?
Just resurfacing projects are going right now. They completed the intermediate surface on the Lots Creek Road. Got rained out yesterday, but they are working on that final lift today. So by the end of this week, the resurfacing on that road should be complete. They will be moving on to the road south of Lone Rock. That road ends. It does not have a pavement to drive through. We are going to have them drive on a gravel road at the end of that 3 miles, go east over to the Good Hope Road. We will be applying dust control in front of the residences there. And there's one intersection we do need to put up a temporary stop sign, trying to make sure that southbound traffic stops. It is aware. We're going to try to put up some warning signs for that people are hauling there. Northbound, there is a stop sign already, but we are getting ready for that next step in that resurfacing. The bridge project right south of Titanca, the south substructures are complete, and now they are driving on here pile bent, and that is being jetted as well. They needed to jet those piles to get through the rock level there. The Irvington Bridge, they had some breakdowns on their paver last week. They did not get back up here to finish the patching on that. So that, we're waiting and continuing to work with Blacktop Service. They started renewal on that bridge in, Seneca Township. Today, they're hoping, the end of next week, they'll be completed and moved out. The Algona Airport is going to begin construction September 5. That road will be closed September 11. And the bridge replacement project south of Fenton for the Department of Transportation, all concrete is poured, so now they are backfilling, and then they'll be getting that road poured as well. We do have 4 truck chassis up at Lake Crystal, Minnesota, getting dump boxes and snow removal added onto those. I'm working on the annual report and then also some Title VI work. Future expenses, we do have the overhead doors at the Laverne shop. Very poor condition. They're actually the original doors from 1987, I believe is when that was built, maybe 1988. So I did sign a purchase order to get new doors installed there. Have the open positions, another open position now too. Expired. And other than that, that's all that I have right now.
Anything else for Doug?
Doug, for P30 south of Sway City, like to the Bancroft Seneca Road. Do you have a plan or anything for those holes that developed this winter, the state of that road? I know there's some others similar to it, but
There's other roads that are similar to it, and we right now, budget tight. I don't know, without doing a full resurfacing, I think what the solution for maintenance.
so that's what it would, you believe that's what it would take is full resurfacing project?
Yeah, still that seal coat. And actually, I think it's the slurry leveling that is underneath of the seal coat that came undone due to some traffic and snow removal. So, but slurry, it'd be very, very expensive to go up and slurry level that. It's mainly in the center line, what I saw.
Mhm.
It's not affecting driving lanes. So the person's passing.
Will that affect the condition of the rest of the road as we go through freeze thaw cycles this winter?
I don't think that it will. I don't think it'll get worse. We'll continue to monitor.
Okay.
Nothing else? Thank you, Doug.
I guess one thing. I don't know if I'm gonna advertise for a position at the transfer station for manager. I don't know if the board even needs to approve of it. If I would just advertise and hire a person, just tell you who I hire, is that satisfactory?
I think we should still approve it.
As far as the employee or manager?
Either one.
manager.
You appoint Doug to run the
Right.
transfer station.
Yeah, I guess that's, I mean,
So-
if you want somebody else to
Follow the,
be the department head for the transfer station, go ahead and tell them. That's fine.
no, follow the county handbook, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Want to finish our committee reports and time with the auditor or go jump
Oh,
into
us,
drainage?
you mean, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
which would you rather do? We're gonna take a break one way or the other.
Let's
We could do that.
do
now.
auditor and board report,
Yeah.
get that out of the way quick.
Did you have any reports, Jack?
Well, at a board of health meeting Wednesday and another meeting Monday.
Kurt?
No, well, I did, an educational session on TIF districts. Just learning about them, but other than that, no.
You'll never know that.
Yeah. A lot of,
I guess I did have a call from he that works for Palo Alto County asking me to check with Roger as to why Palo Alto isn't sending any more prisoners over here to our jail. And, Roger looked into it and, sent an email for me to forward on to, Keith Wertz. And basically it had to do with, well, I'll forward the email to you guys so you can read it.
Carter, no.
that's all, yeah.
Connor?
I had some beaver tails delivered too.
Oh, Beaver Tail Day.
No,
I have CAJDC this Friday.
I did go out to the dump one day and sit there for about an hour and watch how it was running. Make my report when we talk about the rest of it. It's interesting. I'd never sat out there before and just observed.
Okay, so next week on the 22nd, we have the E90 Lat 1 tile railroad crossing public hearing at 10 o'clock. So far, that's all we have on the agenda for next Tuesday. Sure, it will fill up. I also wanted to talk to you about North Iowa Area Council of Governments. When they sent us their figures last December, it was only an estimated amount. So the amount that we budgeted is not the same as the amount that they have approved. Because they did not come up with that number until January 31st. So, it's gonna change, a little bit. So this is.
It's to the positive.
Yeah, it's actually looks like it's gonna be. The top amount is higher, the bottom amount is lower. So I didn't know if you wanted it on the agenda to approve that. We'll have to do but add it to our budget amendment. But do you want to approve it ahead of time and the amendment also, or do you just want to add it to the budget amendment?
I think we can, it's not significant for the balance.
Well, here it is. That top number is higher. It's both of these that are. Yeah, it's the top one that's gonna be higher.
Is the net higher or lower?
The net's higher.
Yes.
We'll have to do a budget amendment.
So I guess my question is, do you want it approved and then approved at the budget amendment, or do you just want to add it to the budget amendment?
Well, I think we can just do it in the budget amendment because we're not gonna change anything till we do the budget amendment. The rest of the board comfortable with that?
Can you just send the documents out to us so we can look at them, or
Yep.
even I'll come look at them after the meeting too,
Yep.
but
I can do that.
don't know without looking.
And then the other thing is, our county farm lease expires in 2023. So if you were going to not extend it, if you're gonna,
Terminate.
yes, we need to do that by September 1st. So I need to know what your intentions are.
Probably should terminate it just to have discussions and set new rates and everything.
Park County
And then it goes out
Farm, oh, okay.
goes into the paper to be published and open for bids and stuff. I think that's what we did last time.
Yeah, go ahead with that.
Yeah. Terminate it.
And that's all we have.
And then you're gonna have to advertise it.
Yep.
So that has to be an agenda item. So we can put that on the agenda for anytime.
So I have.
Anything else? If not, we're gonna take a 15-minute break before we start drainage and get Marge in here.
We don't have any of the regular stuff in our package. do we?
There's nothing there.
It's not the same. You know, see, they had four years. And some of the that's about 80. Then, you were there. That's what they're talking about. Jesus. When is that supposed to be now? It's. Well, you had all day last night. And that's weird. You know, that next one, that's. That's. I say, you didn't, but you didn't get up and finish your life, you just get on something. I got it, that's what you know, the rest of it. Yeah. That's really true. Yeah, we don't know. Well, tonight, then we'll take it. He's only taking. They're just saying, you know, because they.
Did you read the email?
Yeah, well,
Interested, you know, that's just people, they said, there's so much, there's something they, this is. They did it, all just trying to ask, that's why you're right, just keep it. That's what it is. Stuff. It's the big 16.5, and then 22 and the 20, show with the show. They're going to forward to tell. But if you only this, there's.
Yeah, you need to go get some water.
I can't wait. I'll show you exactly. Yeah, that next stuff. That was quite a meeting. So it's there's something. Well, and first show. So now, did the first version.
One is the back. My chance.
Hey, what's your name? It's very nice to meet you. Marcia, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, and all like I said, so she does. Like she said.
I don't.
First.
Jim, okay, yeah. I think I met you maybe. You're seeing you every morning.
Say hi, it's such a moment.
And she said, you're staring.
Remember me?
I remember, but I can't put your names.
Rick Fowler.
Yeah.
My father-in-law walked you down the aisle, right?
Oh, she said,
Yeah.
I know your face.
She's my wife still.
She's always gonna be.
Yeah.
You want to know me.
Yep. I enjoyed it.
No, it's good. Forgetting something wrong. Relax. I know this, you didn't meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I.
How long have you been married? 5 years. Where's she going to college?
Yeah. And we just look at the someone else. You know,
There you go. Yeah. Very good stuff. Stuff the one dog. Yeah. Agreed. That's right, that's right. It's just like. When I see
Nothing like myself.
This time they overdid the bank. But you know, and then I paid it. You know, like you guys. So then I did it once because they had one day. I didn't get. And she got years. So you get it comes back. So that was. Yeah, you know, if they can, yes, they know. Again, as a leader, he said that to put price behind his face and to car. He didn't test me. Oh, hell no. I couldn't believe I just said. Just. He didn't even do it. He didn't do that. No, I'm going down so daily. I'm trying to 42 miles an hour. So I said, whatever, it's 72. And when I get ready to okay. So I was the speed that I was from that extent. You know, that's the main thing. Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah. And then I think, oh, she doesn't. That was that. Oh, that's the one thing I'm saying. Yeah, that's probably, if that's good.
The 4th of July, kids and everything, so they just made the boat out, man, that's all. She got 2 pretty true kids in the boat.
I should have listened.
My cousins had his family, and she was on the beach with the other 2.
That's usually what we like.
Only ones there, they had the lily pad in the boat, you know,
That's why.
they were outside swimming area. This village had trip to the swimming area, which is, that's 67 from the shore, 9 years.
Yeah.
They can have it, they don't turn the $6.
You know, either. There's time to pay.
We're up there, check the day off.
So they have one here, so they are here, set our things. And there's some young thing, I'll just. Right there.
They let that thing float in. Out from the farm, 11-year-old kids, to the oldest.
There's no. Use. So we're in this now. But I don't ever forget we had that. I just could not. Just don't like to. Because I was getting ready to just blind, you know, the art, we just trying to sit around here. But we just stopped, I just taking my dirties, that's nice there. I use the moment to take spray, throw in everybody's answer, don't solve it. They want to feel that brave, in the car and that's how we split around.
I like. Yeah.
There's many revisions to it, and all kinds of results. That's what I said. So I should buy them here, just us.
So I'm gonna start on the 28th, didn't Joe?
Seen behind such him saying, plus a little bit of, you know, what's.
Long as they know, it's like if you get back to those lots of names, don't bet on your renters, it's one place.
What they say,
That's all.
I looked at it like. This is my face up there, and then she was. But it changed it also, and then say, well, next week, it's what. All the email. So I got a piece of your. How did you do that? Schultz, I think he bought it. It already now it's been bumped up that. Hell, he comes in. I know it is. This even. Yeah. Pretty simple. I go. I bet they won't pay for it. Well, not from her dad. That is the only one that go down a mile the gravel. Same way. But it should have, that's in his. I didn't have nothing to do with it. No. You know, this guy's. Yeah, and anybody had, liability insurance. Yeah. These. All nice for the next one. These guys do not use it. I would think the county would cover that. I think they always in our school. Like, correct. I can't stand. Thanks. No, there. Okay. I run in the queue or some of that. I mean, it's like. Oh, they're over. Yeah, they said he was on their, 9th anniversary. They stayed over there the night or so. And I called the next day at Perkins. Had a good time.
Awesome.
And he said he wasn't gonna come back and help you this summer. Did he tell you that? He said, well, I'm done with it.
Melissa Cato.
15. I think I mentioned. But I hadn't really talked to her.
What's the top?
The main tile project around Bert that was voted down. We still got a large assessment. What's it for? Well, engineering.
65, yeah.
Just for engineering.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I have no idea, no question.
But she says, yeah, I got retired. Keep fighting. I said,
Yeah.
well, I got bad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just in case.
Because they started to set off.
They don't understand you just.
And I think I want to try. I don't know. I think there was something like that. So. Yeah. You know. I never know that's the. Okay. And I said, if you want to come, you can talk worker. One right now.
Seems I forgot to tell
They really, to get along together.
Oh, yeah.
Where she's going to be again.
I forgot to charge you for. Yeah, but I looked at it. Do we have any drainage repairs?
You can pass that out. I guess that. Agenda, but I guess that.
Right, only kid, I'm smart, so you go back to what's up. I got kids with like 300%. I was just saying, first thing.
You got down first.
Yeah. All right, it was weekend. Yeah.
When she gets back.
That makes sense to me. Recruiting even child to that farm.
Carter, you ready or? We'll go back into session. And the first thing I have on the agenda is James Fasky. And you have something you want to come up and sit in the chair up here?
Oh, I was just wondering, I don't own this farm, I own this farm 1 year. Did I get taxed for?
You have to bring the person.
You, have you come up and talked to Marge yet, Jim?
We'd have to check the parcel and see how it's. I would need to see what the parcel is on that to look at it, to see how it's listed.
Can you bring the paper up so that we know what you're talking about for sure?
Is it a farm that you just recently purchased?
No, he said he owned it for 1 year.
Well, yeah, but that's,
So, there's. Some of these are not, or do you own any of these?
I don't know any of that.
did it get sold recently?
To me,
So you just bought it?
a year ago,
Okay,
so who owns that? Who owns the 4,700 then?
the current landowner.
Yeah, the current owner, when he doesn't go out.
But I got a free and clear title to the farm.
Yeah, this is just new. This is a new assessment, or a repair that we done.
No, it's a new assessment, but it shouldn't be to me.
That could be something to check with whoever you bought the farm from or that company. I believe they should have disclosed that, but, for a project that was in the works or something, but that's the disclosure to you is outside of our control.
What was it for, Mark?
This is the clean out on the main open ditch B and the lateral 30 open ditch
On which drain?
during 80.
On drain 80?
Yeah, that clean out that they did.
I would say the first place to deal with would be whoever you bought the land.
But they all died.
Well, there should have been an attorney or a real estate company or
I
something.
had a free and clear title to the farm.
Did you get it from an estate or where did you get it, I
I
guess?
got it from the Schultzes. There's only one of them left now.
This is.
If the land's in the district, it's still a liability of the district, so. You know,
So in other words, I get screwed on this.
No.
That's all I need to know.
What we got next on the agenda? Okay. Joe and Steve, you're up next.
Yes.
You've come up.
You used to have a little trouble with, and I use
Yeah.
the projector now. I want to start out with DD 4/28, and that'll give me time to get this up and running here. Joe. Yeah. Yeah, see, you got a dog in his car, have a little trouble. So. Okay. Anyway, on DD 4/28, there's people here that would like to talk about that, and we'll see that in the agenda also. And the only thing I saw there was that I was watching for the meeting that you would have to determine how much percentage that an individual is gonna get taken off of the assessment schedule, because the meeting I was at, that was not decided.
What do you mean? You were,
Well, I was at the whole meeting.
yeah, you were at the public
Yeah,
hearing.
yeah, and so the deal is you guys accepted the engineer's report, but you did not accept the classification reduction of 85%, because I didn't know that when I left. And I didn't leave until it was done.
What are you talking about? The motion was made while you were sitting here in the room. I'm lost on where you're confused.
Does anybody else want to speak to how that was handled?
There was, yeah, I know there is. I made it.
He made it.
There was the motion, Joe.
I was unaware, because I left there feeling that that hadn't been decided, because Roger asked Conley to do the numbers on it and get back to him.
We can bring you.
He asked for the numbers to be brought to us the next, like, once he had them prepared and we would review them, but the action was already taken at that meeting.
Well, the action I thought that was taken just,
Did you read the minutes?
well, I don't care what the minutes say, because I know you guys changed records.
Did you watch the video that you were sitting here for?
No, I did not. I moved on. That's okay with me. So, yeah,
No, that's not really okay with me.
you got the minutes. Is that what it says?
Okay, I think that's all.
All right. Real good. That's fine. That's all I want to say. If these guys want to take a little time on DD 4/28, I will go.
I got a question on that lateral 28. What's the difference of a repair and a improvement as far as landowners are concerned?
I've already explained this, I believe, to you, but as engineers have previously said, the difference in a repair and improvement is defined in the Iowa code, and it is, a repair is basically same water flow capacity, same size pipe, or whatever the modern day equivalent of that size is. If it used to be a 27, you might have a bigger tile if they don't make that size, but it is the same water flow capacity in very simple terms.
After I talked to you, Kyle, I talked to Tyler,
Yep,
the engineer, and he brought in, it was 18 inches deeper
okay,
at
yep.
one end to the other. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what he stated. Is that an improvement?
No,
It's not.
no,
If the tile map would show a 36 on the old tile maps, and we all know tile maps aren't correct all the time. And if it was a 30, you went to a 36, that would be an improvement, correct?
Depends on the records that we have in the courthouse, the original design records. We go off of them.
You go off the tile map.
No,
So
no.
I believe it's
What do you mean
the,
by that?
I believe it's the same.
Original record that the engineer did when he did the project to do the drainage, we go off of that record, not the drainage map.
the engineer doesn't go by that. If he sees a 36 on that, he goes, he
Right.
digs down and finds it.
He
Yeah,
goes,
they-
no, he goes back to the record.
They do investigation as well.
By digging, or do they crawl up to the 36 or?
They don't, they go back
Digging.
to the original record that's in the courthouse.
My son isn't here, but he stated that the tile was only a 30 and got replaced by a 36. There any knowledge to do that? And if that's true,
I
I mean, we can prove that like digging it up or something and putting it back together. We have to figure out if it's like 30 or 36.
How are you going to dig up stuff that was crushed and buried?
I bet you could do it.
I don't know how. You gonna put pieces together? To my knowledge, we put the same size pipe in the ground that we had before, so
Is the existing main still there?
the old main,
They said they,
Oh, yeah.
no.
they said they crushed it, but I doubt they crushed every single one.
Are you gonna,
And I've never been.
you gonna
back
dig
there.
up a quarter mile to find out if they had one section they missed?
Save $100,000, I sure would.
For this new main on the lateral.
I don't know, a year or better ago. I mean, we've already had the work has all been done, the completion hearing's been
Right,
done.
right.
We're a long
I
way.
get that, the questions, trying to get information.
Yeah, I don't have an exact date off the top of my head.
So when was so since the original that engineering report, you guys had so much acres that went out of that drainage district, correct? How many acres is that?
What do you mean?
That isn't participating in this project?
There's no acres that we took out of it.
Isn't there like 500 acres that is exempt now of Jay Goshen's?
No.
Now that he did his privately?
Reduced rate.
What's the reduced rate at?
There is one specific factor that was given an 85% reduction. But that still goes into all the rest of the factors. So it is not, they're not exempt by any means, no.
Right, so they're paying 15% of this project.
No, not correct at all.
What percent then?
To come up with a percent, you'd have to take the whole, cost of the project that was assessed out and do the math on what those acres specifically got for an assessment, but that is only one factor in the equation, so it is not a apples to apples comparison, no.
So the original estimate on assessment was done when the engineer did his report, which would have included these acres, correct?
Yeah,
Okay,
the acres
so
are the
now,
same.
so now my landlord's getting a bill for way more than what the original estimate was for, and she's questioning why. Why is it so much more?
The whole project.
And that's the only answer that I have is that, you know, some of the acres have come out and I don't know. Jay, I mean, that's what we should all do. What he's doing is laying our own and not have to deal with this. But, so is Jay hooked into the county tile?
Well, he's not here to speak for himself, so I don't know. No,
He's still using part
Well,
of it.
that's, I mean,
Jay is not here.
that should, that's a question for you guys. Is that still hooked into the main, the county main?
At the hearing, I believe he talked about it. I don't know specifically if it was at that hearing or previous conversations, but I don't believe any of his pattern tile is hooked into the county main. And he's still paying.
Two different things. You let him out.
When his private tile is substantially,
Out actual, is he hooked in? Is he not hooked in?
No, my
I
understanding
mean,
is
to all of our knowledge here, I don't know, maybe Rick knows or somebody else, but I don't know when that work was done, if it got tied back in. I have no clue. I never drove up there and never looked.
I don't have a specific measurement on depth, but I know his private system is substantially deeper than the county system. So it would be impossible to hook up private tile that's deeper than the county main into the county main to drain.
But the ones that were originally there, were they re-hooked up into that county main, the new county main? And if so,
Right.
what percentage? You don't know that.
When you pattern tile the entire field, those old connections are probably going to be destroyed. So I don't think he would have put in a pattern tile system and then gone back and hooked in old connections for a system he just installed brand new. That's not logical.
I have a
Well,
question. Does the other supervisors know something? If you don't know, I think I would like to listen to you. Because it's a board, not one person, right?
Yeah.
So what the other supervisors have to say to us? So that's affecting all of us. I'm a wife of a farmer. I manage to farm with my husband. We have a budget. The budget is having property tax every year. Now we have surprises every year from drainage. We have kids, grandkids, we have personal living, and we have a lot of I don't know from involved. We're not here to listen, I don't know. Somebody has to know. Sorry, with all the respect. That's why we're here.
Well, they are the trustees,
They're supposed to know.
so they should all.
Yeah, so I think there's more people that
There's a
want.
problem, they don't know.
Yeah, but they have to tell. Somebody has to tell her the supervisors.
Well,
I think that as a wife, I know what is a public position. I vote.
Go back to the.
Okay, and that people have to have an answer. Now we're
His
going
report stated
approved,
it
and we don't know whether.
privately drained.
I'm sorry, I'm very ignorant here, something. I don't think.
I can't see.
I'm here representing my landlord, and her position is, why weren't we informed of this increase ahead of time?
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Every-
we get blindsided with this thing. And with no, I said to her, I said, I'll look into it. I had no clue why it's so much more.
I think you're supposed to give notice if you're gonna change the tax aspect. I don't think that was done in this case.
Change.
And here's the bad part is, we're setting precedents that quite a few, my farms have drainage going either right through them or right adjacent to them. We just set precedents that we're gonna let you out of the drainage district to a certain percent. If you run your own tile, a lot of guys have their own plows, no big deal anymore. So now guess what? All them guys at the top end, they're gonna be paying for everything.
Jay was not along the ditch in this situation either.
What's that?
The ground you're talking about is not right along a ditch to just escape the district costs.
Right.
What did that save, Jay, from going from the 70% to 85%?
And
nobody knows that.
That's the bad part.
And here's
Here's $100,000, according to the March 6th statement I got for Jay, was 153,000, and this last one I got was 54,000. It saved him $100,000, and none of the board knows that, how much it saved. You just went by percentages.
A lot of,
I don't think that's correct numbers. Which one are you talking about was the
These are
first one?
papers that I got, that's what I went by.
Yeah, but what time?
Their time,
Like when did you get them? What were they
one
rated?
says March 6th to 23. The other one says July 10th.
So that would,
23.
that would not be a comparison between 70 and 85. That's a comparison between the
Well, the
old
60 and
schedule.
85 went after March 6th.
That's what I'm saying. The
And-
numbers you're talking about are not
Before July
representing what
10th.
you're. We can't all talk at the same time here.
when this was engineered, was it engineered without those acres going into that lateral?
The engineer knew full well that there was a private lift station and those acres were drained.
So why are we laying another 36-inch main when we just took 500 acres out of the thing? We could have dropped this down to a 24 to handle the same amount of water.
if he's completely cut off, then there's close to 500 acres that aren't draining into that lateral.
And what I was told, it was requested at a 24.
No, the request that was made was higher up.
Oh,
The request that was made was higher up in the line. And that was also later then requested to be abandoned because of the cost of doing that project through the district. And the choice was made to do that privately. That would have been a 24-inch tile, I believe. But for a private operation to be able to hook up low enough and be able to do that project, we had to improve the county main downstream of that to get lower depth for the new potential private system. So the way, it's complicated situation, but the way you explained it was not actually correct.
So make it simple then.
Yeah.
That's what I just did.
We're not making, you said it's complicated. Make it simple.
So-
Explain
The short,
You improve something private main.
my level.
no. The simple answer is we would have had to replace the county lateral that was in place based on the request that was made by your son. We would have had to improve that.
he was requesting for his landlord.
Either way,
Wasn't
the
for
paper-
him.
the paper was signed by him. We would have had to improve that lateral plus the main below that until the option of them doing that privately came up. So they chose that option, but we still had to do the main lower to give the district that we were responsible for serving the ability to drain.
But why wasn't it engineered without those 500 acres? Is what I'm asking you. It was engineered with those 500 acres.
Because the district did not change.
Yes, it did.
No.
Because he laid, yes, because we have 500 acres and you're claiming that is not draining into the lateral.
The district did not change by district action. The watershed or the water amount that went into that tile changed when he installed his private tile. That does not reduce what the district is liable for and responsible to maintain.
So you're telling me the engineer, if he would have had these facts, would have not said, you know, hey, listen, we could drop this down to a 24.
No,
And you don't think,
it's still below a 1/2-inch drainage coefficient, which is the standard for drainage. It's still below that. So no.
Who had liability on any of this? Do you guys all have liability?
Why would we have liability on it?
Oh, because of something like this.
We just sit here and make decisions for the districts.
We could, does the county have a blanket deal on liability?
Not for this.
is it? So all the projects are complete up there, correct? How many of you guys have drove that ditch? You're the trustees, how many?
This is a tile we're talking about for lateral.
I don't care, I'm just asking a question about it, because you're the trustee.
Which
So
ditch are you
I'm
talking?
to ask,
Which
have
ditch are
you
you
guys
talking?
went and inspected, all right, did you go up and inspect 2080, the lateral?
Yeah, I was out there multiple times while they were building it.
Just two.
Did anybody else?
Yeah, I've been up there and looked at the ditch and I looked at the outlet when they stuck the tile in.
What about the others? They know-
I've called repeatedly several things that are going on there. And to my knowledge, oh, we're gonna fly a drone. Is anything done? You have tons of issues with that project and nobody's addressing any of them. This is one and we have a lot of other big ones that are gonna happen down the road. Because of either the engineer did it wrong or the contractor did. And it's trustees, not supervisors, but trustees. You guys have to be on top, because we can't.
I can't go on somebody else's property without permission. As a trustee, you guys can go out there and look at that.
So do you want us,
And then you would know if things got hooked up, if they didn't get hooked up. If they're not hooked up, I don't. But I would think as trustees and supervisors, you guys should be asking the questions hardcore because you're taking a tax base out without ever looking to see if anybody hooked back into it. And you set precedents, and like I said, they could say, I could say whatever I want. I could lay my own main and say I did my own, and then still be hooked into the existing main. Never say nothing. You're gonna come, like you said, what are you gonna do? Go out there and dig it up? No.
tile maps were provided, so there was information that was provided, so I think it's pretty standard.
I can rub tile on a piece of paper too.
Well, I guess there has to be some
And it's
integrity.
saying it's about Jay, because it's not about Jay. It's the idea that these landlords were all assessed. Wait, I mean, I can't imagine opening that bill and getting that shaft.
They probably should have been involved with the public hearings.
Well, here's the
She
thing.
lives in California.
I think the deal is, in that, I've read enough history, what they used to do when they developed these mains, they do the engineering work. Then they do the reclassification, or if there was already classification in hand. Then they would send, this is what your projected bill is gonna be. Before they start. And what I saw happen was that it apparently, I'm just getting different information, but it sounds like maybe the 70% was already out there and that was engineer approved. Then the day of the meeting, you decide to change the level of relief to this individual, which is fine. You know, I'm not gonna complain one way or the other, but the problem is these guys didn't know about that change. And I think you could have given notice.
Classification on that.
Just
There
notice.
was no notification that went out of what your bill is going to be because there was not a classification for this project.
That's why you always have it backwards. That guy could have done it before they started digging, send the bill out to everybody. What do you think?
Well,
That's-
Joe,
That's
the
why they did
problem,
it. That's why they did it in the past.
Joe, the problem is if we do a pre-classification, there's a double cost, because then you're done with the project, then we do a classification again.
No, you don't. It's
Yes, we
done.
do.
No, you
We
do not.
can't use the pre and the final. Joe, that's against the law.
Oh, gee, George, you don't know nothing. You know,
You're right. I don't know much, but you
well,
know
if you read
that.
a little history, you know how to run these things. And you wouldn't have upset people here today getting slammed for a big bill that they didn't realize was coming.
There's lots of big bills.
They didn't get notified. That's it. I don't care what the law is. If these guys would have known, they wouldn't be upset today.
You were at the hearing and it doesn't even involve your ground.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I want people to be,
sir.
this is
Yeah,
the way you
yeah.
treat our districts too.
No,
It's the
it's,
same thing you did on 80, you did it on DD 4 You do it all the time. You just throw people off nilly-willy and then hand a big bill. Don't give notice. That's what this is about.
that's what the public hearings are for.
And that's what you didn't do. You decided,
We
no,
had a
let's do
public-
85% and not notify anybody.
You know,
That's what you did.
I've sat at public hearings before and listened to things that were said and things that were not supposed to happen. Don't shake your head, no.
No.
I sat in meetings and heard things specifically told to some of you board members, and some of you did exactly the opposite. So
Yeah.
I mean, you can talk about public hearings all you want, but if you don't do what's said in those meetings, then it's pretty much a waste of time for everybody.
That's fine.
The assessments are higher than what they were, what caused the assessments to be higher.
Possibly the pre that you might have had in March did not include interest to collect and did not include engineering. So the total cost is what the final assessment.
Why did it not include engineering?
probably not crop damage.
Which was eight,
We didn't have that.
which was $80,000. $80,000, basically.
And I believe the construction expenses were more than planned because of the distance to that junction point.
300 feet
I
more.
didn't cheat.
But that's a chunk of change.
But Marge, I don't understand. I think if I stopped last week, you said the interest is up till December 1st.
Right, for collection.
What do people pay right away?
It covers all of that. So then,
So they get interest back?
it would go in the fund and then would offset any future repairs or anything that would stay with that fund.
So they get charged for the interest to December 1st.
That's usually the standard for assessments to allow people to pay up to.
What's the interest rate?
On that, it's 5%.
If they
Previously,
have the option to pay it right away,
They can't pay ahead. That was.
I mean, why should they have to pay interest if I can write a check right now?
that's the process of assessments. That's standard operating procedure. It's always been that way.
Yeah, the treasurer doesn't have a way. to-
No different than anything that's been done in the past.
Like you said, that rates wasn't included on everything that's March 6th one that I had.
I'm not sure, what year is that, March?
March 6th of 23. But my family doubled from 35,000 to 70,000. And it just couldn't have been on the
What is the-
8,000 engineers.
Right, what's the amount? Final amount on the last page,
So
On
both
the
of
March.
them,
on the March one.
$500,000.
On both,
You said the last one for March.
The March,
The other one was in July. I don't know if that included the engineer, 525,000.
probably final costs for engineering and everything current.
Which was 88,000, but like I said, my family's went to 35,000. And I also, on March, one of my farms that doesn't have any water running into lateral 28. In March, I didn't get access, and in July I did. And I see there's another piece that this person didn't get assessed anything. They're in the red line also. So I can show you that later.
Okay.
But that's what Vince was saying. Landlords were just surprised. I think they were fine with that 70-30. I looked at, I watched the video and I wasn't here. Should have been here. If I knew it was gonna go from 70 to 80, 85, I would have been here. But I was happy with that 70-30. But it seemed like the one party said, hey, you guys gonna vote on that today? Because there's nobody else here to go up against us, to bring any points out, the lies that we have told you to persuade us to go that way. And they were lies, because my name was drug into it. But they persuaded everybody to vote yes on that 85, which saved them $100,000 according to what I got from the auditors. And that's where a lot of the cost was. The 88,000 I didn't know at that time. And that's why the landowners, like I said, that the next week I came, I said, you paid one party and there was 20 some landowners that picked up the one party's.
so the point I was trying to make before is those two assessment schedules are not the difference that you are referring to. You're saying it's the difference between 70 and 85% for one factor. And the first one,
That's what came into play.
hold on.
March
hold on.
6th and
I
before
will-
July 10th.
I will finish explaining what I was saying. The initial one you would have had no reduction. It would have been the old schedule. So if you were okay with 70% reduction, but not 85, for Marge to produce those numbers,
we would have had to have had that schedule in the computer system to be able to produce those numbers. So that is not possible because we didn't have that schedule. So it is not a comparison between 70 and 85. It's a comparison between 0% reduction and 85. Do you follow what I'm saying for the comparison?
I don't know how mine are doubled in.
Because the one factor you're talking about was not included at all prior to.
The schedule, which.
We did all what's included. Did
The
Tyler
70,
get paid? Did Tyler get paid? Did McClure get paid? McClure took a lot of money out of this community.
they were
Did he
not
get
the,
paid? Did the Tyler get paid? Or did the Tyler get paid? Yes. So now what are we talking? And then we get a bill like this. $78,000.
I think you're talking about something completely different.
Yeah, that's a different deal, but you still got, everybody got paid, didn't they?
So Vince, the question you asked, the two schedules that Rick is comparing is the old schedule from, I don't even know how many years
I
ago,
understand that, sir.
First-
To the-
versus the new schedule that was approved by the board has that 85% reduction for the private tile factor. The 70% that was proposed by the engineer was not figured in a calculation before that was ever given to people in that form.
So why not go by the recommendations of the engineer at 70%?
Because of the individual circumstances for that situation.
Well, and to me, it's starting to get like, who you are makes a difference, you know?
No,
And I wanna hear some of these other supervisors talk too. You guys forced me into getting a supervisor and I gotta go or hire an engineer. And I gotta go exactly by what he said because he's the expert, he told me. In a crossing that we wanna do. And now you're going against an engineer that you paid him money for his expertise. And now you say, well, he really doesn't know what he's doing. We're gonna go from 70% to 85% just because we think it's a good idea.
he specifically said the lift station is not something he could factor into an equation. So he said the numbers-based approach that he arrived at was limited.
Exactly. So just like you can't prove how many tiles are still hooked into that existing, are the new main. You can't give me a number, so we can't say, you know, that was his choice, put in a lift pump. Good for him. Don't make the rest of the district pay for it.
That's right.
But my point is the numbers saying he got $100,000 reading.
Come at that 85%. That's what I wanna hear from the rest of the board. How did you come up with 85% versus 70? What was your expertise that said, as a drainage engineer, that gave you the right to say, well, we feel that, you know, this lift pump is worth 15% more than the district to pay?
Where that come from? That's the base, but we have numbers, we have to have papers. So
What would you base that 85% on?
I don't know, it's not an answer. Okay. Well, we're here.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Asking the board. I see you say the board like you are the.
85%.
Looks like it's the supervisor of board.
I asked that at the meeting. How you come up?
Nobody's gonna answer.
That engineer right here, you just said screw his work.
Well, you also said
It's
100%.
not
Well,
personal.
I mean, it's engineer.
Get out the
We
personal
just
guy.
want how you
Be professional.
arrived at 85%.
Who is able to answer? It's a simple question, right? Somebody has to be able to answer. That's why we are here.
I would
Jack,
say-
anybody else, Roger, how'd you guys come at 85%?
Have the flying supervisor, not one. One of these,
I was there.
It's, you know, if you're gonna tile and put in a new main and put a lift station in, that's 2 and 3 feet deeper than the old county main, you're gonna hook all your tiles and your ground up to that. If you don't, you are an idiot. That's how we come up with the 85%.
so we are idiot. That's a nice term for us. They are professional.
And the engineer didn't give us a recommendation. It was from him and his viewers that viewed it. And they know nothing about lift stations either. So that's how we came up with it.
I want to justify the rate.
Is that the right number? I don't know.
Oh,
It's a number that we came up with.
Jesus, I don't know.
What was, I guess, what was, who was the big push to move it from 70 to 85%? The landowner or I mean, did he come up with this 85% or did
He objected formally during the hearing, and did he request 90% reduction?
Who is he?
Jay,
Jay,
Ah, fine one.
so
Teach
that was,
us how to do what he does to be benefited. That's why we are here. You guys can do something for one farm, you should be able to do to the community. And that's for the final paper. I'm asking for the board. We vote for you. What he did that allowed him to get that, teach us that will come all together and we all can be benefited, right? And you guys don't have an answer. That's very strange. And I'm here as a wife.
The information that I had, the information that was brought into the boardroom
By who?
by the engineer and the Jay and the Tyler. Jay took most, if not all, the water out of this district, put in his own tile and took it out of the district.
So you discounting him so he can pay the
Took
time?
took the water out of this district, which benefited everybody else because that water no longer was going to be part of draining into your drainage district tile. It was going
So
somewhere else.
why wouldn't the landowners hold this, Jack?
No.
That's what I'm saying, that's the whole thing, you know?
what do you mean they weren't told that? I've said that how many times today?
What's that?
I've said that how many times today? His private tile system directly benefited the district facility by taking water away from it.
I tell you what, I've farmed there my whole life, Kyle. You can say what you want, but Rick and we all know, we deal with it. And if they say they got another 18 inches of fall on that thing, I would lay a big bet that says it ain't there.
That's why there's a
Because you
lift
really
station.
think- You really think it's gonna help us on the north end of that lateral? Ask Rick. Rick, you think that's gonna help my whole way up there?
I don't think any of my water goes to that lift station. But according to that meeting, they sat there and say, oh, we take all, the runoff comes into our farm. I have the section of that, the quarter right north of them, and I don't think there's one drop that comes across that unless we get across the road. And it goes all through that old system, didn't go through any of that new system.
So are you guys saying that the repairs that were done or the improvement that was done didn't work? You're all having crops drowned out and there's.
It's not going to work, Jack.
No, that's what I'm asking. Is it not working? The work that was done has not benefited you?
We haven't had the brain to even test it out. But what I'm saying is the farms that I have in that area, that's not what was done, is not gonna change our drainage one bit.
You're 100% correct in that. It will not change your drainage because it's not an improvement project. That is the basis of the conversation here. It is not going to change your water flow. It's the same size pipe.
Now, wait, I thought it was supposed to, you guys just said it was supposed to,
You just said so now.
we were gonna get the benefit.
Well,
Now you know.
benefits coming from 5
Benefit-
acres that took that water.
Benefit comes
and
from
took it in a
there.
different direction. And it's no longer going to slow your drainage going through. Or your
Just realize you guys are setting precedents now. You cannot deny anybody. If I wanna do this now, you can't deny me to do it.
Vince, if you have 100-year-old tile that is broken, just
Some of these ours that we're fixing all the time.
if you have a 100-year-old tile that you are fixing constantly, and you do a repair project and replace a section, whether that's 100 feet or a mile, you have a benefit from that project in the form of a new pipe. Not necessarily more water capacity. Benefit is a big term. So you did get a benefit as a district from a new pipe in the ground. Do you disagree with that?
I don't disagree with the new pipe.
But
I disagree if this engineer's saying that he got 18 inches of fall, more fall from the existing.
I think
That's what the lift station. He has a lift.
He's got. No, this is, there's supposed to be 18 inches of drop on arms.
Better,
On
better,
the-
yeah,
More than what would be.
There's more.
The
So
county-
I'd like to see that engineering report that.
that is all in the engineering report. You can find that. You can talk to Tyler. That's
We got
easiest
one
place
in
to
the
go.
Drainage room.
But,
you can get that.
but the simple
It shows
answer,
The depth that the tile was laid in the fall, that's all available.
the simple answer to that,
That looked when you went out there and looked at it, Jack.
We hired,
Spot on.
the engineers are hired to do that work.
Exactly. He said 70%, you guys go with 80.
that is completely different.
But I don't think that 10% difference would have made, was responsible for your, whatever you said, doubling of your assessment.
They're going off of two different assessments.
Yeah, it's two different things.
That's 10%.
It's not comparing apples.
If you're saying his assessment should have been 150,000, 10% of that is like 15,000. That wouldn't have had doubled your assessment or Bauer's assessment.
That's the difference between 0% reduction that it would have had previously to 85. That 10% on top of 70 is not the majority of the change. The majority of the change is the 70%. The 15 on top of that is
Right.
additional to the 70, but it is not the majority of it.
But I'll agree with you, Vincent, what you said. Yeah, in your own private tile and run it a different direction, we'd probably have to go back and do the same thing for you.
And you drop our prices because we're doing private, so we can pay our rent. This is how I understand what happened. You drop for him because you do private.
Well,
then
if
we count the-
you're gonna run it somewhere else and not use.
You have to follow the proper procedure for that. This stayed in the same drainage district. So
Yeah,
there
but
are
if you want
pieces
to
of the
do
puzzle.
money, you can do it, drop ours the same
Well,
way,
you can- if
with
you-
the same
If you have the
respect.
ability to take it a different direction, a different outlet somewhere, and you're not gonna use any as a drainage district tile, we probably have to look at the same situation.
Answer my question, answer you.
Yeah.
We need to understand, right?
But you're talking about spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do all that too.
All of these projects could be done privately, but the drainage districts are there for a reason. And we don't need to get into that, but there's a entire code section for that, so.
Back to the depth, Jack, I see Tyler, he showed me on whatever he comes up with 18 deeper in the beginning, 18 deeper where he ended off, and where he ends
For
off.
which time are you talking, the drainage district or for?
Well, that was 28.
For Lattiser, okay.
And where they ended off, the Clark family, they came in and did their own private 24, hooked onto that 36. And that was agreement, I think, they had with the board.
Yep,
They do that on their own.
yep, because you request that to be
But the person that did
abandoned.
The 24, he said, that depth didn't change any. It was equal to what was there, the old 30 or 36. That's what he stated.
I don't buy that for
I
a
think
second.
18 inches, you'd see that.
I don't buy that information for a second.
How do we know? I mean, Tyler knows that, but
That's hearsay again.
GPS verification, that whole project was,
18 inches, I mean,
Did they lay that?
It's a little more complicated than
I
that.
wasn't there. That's what I was told. Absolutely, it's hearsay.
If they laid it themselves, I question, but if they hired it done.
It was-
I'd like to.
It was done by,
The person that laid it, whether there was.
There's,
it was done by Steve Minky, right?
Yeah,
Well,
around some years.
Jack.
Yeah.
It was done by Steve Minky.
Oh, Steve did it?
North Iowa drainage, you know, and he was really upset that they couldn't gain any depth on it.
Yeah, he said they didn't gain any depth. It was the same as the old one.
Did he hook on to the new system?
Yeah, I 36.
Sure he did. That's what.
If you weren't there, how do you know?
Yeah.
Same question you were asking us.
They laid a 24 in there and then hook it up.
Oh, well, hey, he's got his own private town, so maybe they should just let you off.
well, if you hooked it to the top of the new one or to the bottom of the new one, would make quite a bit of difference.
Would make,
And I've seen it done both ways.
Yeah, I think he said the bottom was even with the bottom. That's what I was told.
well, I don't know.
18 inches is a lot. I mean,
I don't know how he would see the bottom of the old tile that was crushed.
I don't either.
Well, he was out there earlier, when the new thing was put in. And he thought they couldn't get it deep enough, right? Is that what, this is what he was telling me. And so they were gonna wait for the new project to be put in, they gained a foot.
Well, you couldn't even do this until we put the new main in.
Yeah, that was the
That
whole,
was my understanding.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm just, like I said, it's all hearsay.
No, what I'm saying is that, you know, the difference between the 70 and 85 would not have doubled anybody's assessment. That's, you're talking about
not
a
even,
few $1,000s.
correct.
Well, just what they said, the one assessment didn't have any of the
0% for private.
0% in it, and the next one had this. had
85.
85. And then.
So it wasn't comparing 70 to 85, it was comparing 0 to 85.
and I was just going by the date, March, you know, so I knew the 70 was out there, so that's what I thought, you know.
But we don't have the ability to give you those numbers until we have a classification
It said
schedule.
estimate on the March 6th.
But that would have been based off of the old
And I didn't know.
schedule.
That's just what I got.
That wouldn't have been based on actual numbers.
But I knew the 70 was out before that. That was out in February, I believe.
It was early, yeah.
So I assume that's what it was.
But it wouldn't have had any bearing on the numbers you got in March.
No,
That's the problem. Joe, you have more?
Yeah. I put in a repair request on DD4 lot 11, I don't know, a month or so ago, and we've done a little recon work on that. And I got a video of the flow.
where did you get the video flow from?
Myself. In the box, you'll see it.
The junction box,
Yeah, the junction, you know,
and you got permission to do that?
we went out there,
You got permission or not?
yeah, I talked to Dan. On his boss. So you don't have to.
Can we start?
So here we are. This is DD4 lot 11, and this is Harrison 36, and you can see the two arrows there. There's a box up underneath wildlife refuge. See my pointer, no, okay, that's the north box in Harrison 36, and where the blue arrow is on the bottom, that's the south box in 36. So this is where we went out to view the tile.
Mike, go to your-
So here is a video of that tile moving. And you'll see the 30 is to the bottom. We're looking at the 30 right now. We're gonna throw a twig in there. And that thing ain't gonna move. That's the performance of the 30. You got about 6 or 8 inches of water in that tile that's not moving. Then as you watch this, what we'll do is we throw a twig into the 24 relief that was put in according to records. Well, look at that movement. That's moving pretty fast. And 30 is just stagnant water. I think you've seen enough of that. Here's the 30. What we decided to do is throw some ping pong balls down in there and see where they come out at the dredge. Put the yellow ones in the 30 and let them go. You can see them kind of go in there. Hardest hardening. About 20 balls in there. Those balls pretty much just kind of stop right in that pipe. Then what we did is we made the flow go over to 30. Then we dropped white ping pong balls down to this 24. And the idea was to see which outlet these balls come out. And that's 24. All done. So now we know we have a restriction somewhere in the pipe south of the Harrison 36 box. And in the history records, it shows that we have a box in Greenwood 1. And Tim Bush has confirmed that. And it's about 16 inches deep to the top of it. And the idea here is we do not want to spend engineering costs on third engineering to go look at that box. We want to be able to go out there after fall harvest, let North Iowa Drainage take a look at it and see if the pipe is running south of there or if the restriction is south of there again. That's what the deal is. I don't like that. Dan Whittemer, he was the guy that tried to do a fake records on trying to get a reclass done on this. Now here's Ramsey 7 outlet. And here's what we did is we put a little chicken wire up there and the cock balls. We got all white balls in there. That's what we did. And that outlet is running really good. I'm thinking they got a lot of falls towards the tail end of that. There's a 36-inch pipe further up. You can see the pipe up there. This is the Ranger 7 outlet. And there, I went up there just to take a picture of the pipe. There's only one pipe coming in there. I believe it's a 36-inch. I'm going by there's 5 pipe that are sitting along the dredge. I don't know if you guys have ever seen them. They just sit out there. They're 36-inch pipe. I think what they did is they replaced that pipe with this plastic pipe. I think
You're talking out there.
Yeah, that's what I think they did.
That's
The ones on the surface are the 36. If you guys got any questions here, feel free to pipe in. Okay, here's how that outlet's run. You can just see that. It's really run. I think there's a lot of grade towards the tail end of that outlet. You know, it's running good. But we didn't get any yellow balls coming out of there. So then we go to the Ranger 6 outlet, which has just been replaced. And here it's running here. Now we didn't get any the yellow walls are somewhere, we just don't know where they're at. My point is after fall harvest, we'd like to have North Iowa drainage, just go in there and just take a look at that box, see where the restriction is. Don't spend a whole heck of a lot on engineering fees, that was not my point. Find out where the restriction is in this town, here's why. I've talked to the Union Sioux Wildlife Refuge, and I know Kyle has talked to them also. It sounds like they're gonna get their funding. Put a new pipe in Harrison 36 between the two boxes. Okay,
North of the two box, north.
yeah, it starts at Harrison 36. They're just gonna put a solid pipe in their property so that it doesn't quite come to the south box. Cause the south box is about 500.
Yeah, it does not go to the south box at all.
What is now?
There, the junction box immediately south of the Union Slough by it ground by a couple hundred feet would be the north box you're referring
That's the
to.
South box. We're on the south side of 36, and then they got a north box on 36. You know, I'll go back.
Two boxes.
No,
Yeah, there's 3 boxes in, well, there's one in Greenwood 1, then there's 2 in Harrison 36. That's yes. There they are. This is the blue arrow on the bottom is in, it's a well farm that's farmed by Dan Bacon at this point. And that is not the slough property, but you see where the 36 is there, that's where the slough property ends. The way I understand it, they're gonna put solid pipe in from their fence line north to get out of their property. You know what I never talked to them in detail, I just know. When I heard that this pipe was restricted, I'm like going, well, gosh, maybe we ought to look at this, see where the restrictions at.
I have never been in that north box.
Phil, have you ever seen that north box?
No,
I
I don't know. It's not.
but
I don't-
you have a problem. Well, here's the deal, you
No.
may have a problem between the north and the south box. But
Joe.
we still have a problem south of the south box.
The point Rich said is there's not a junction box there. The tile come together, but there's not a junction box.
Well, I don't, that's what the records indicate.
I've never seen one there.
Well, they bring a tile together and well, Eddie Bauer. Did I talk to you on that? No, I talked to Jim Julius. Jim Julius said that Eddie Bauer and him would go to that box there.
I heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I read the north box and then the south box.
So, and maybe he didn't know what I was talking about.
There is 2 boxes that I'm aware of on that system, but I'm not aware of a north box.
Okay,
But
well,
you're
if
referring-
there's not one, you know.
But yes, you're kind of correct. The one you have labeled as a south box would be just south of the potential repair through the Union Slough.
Right, and I know we have a restriction south of that yet, because of the stagnant water that sits. Here's what happened. When we diverted the water from the 24, Steve was with me, North Iowa Drainage. He thought we'd have water gushing out of that box. I said, no, when you read the record, what they did is when they put the relief lines in, they were supposed to tie the relief line into the old main, so it would drop in there. So I don't know why we have water sitting there, even if you have a poor grade, it should drain down. We were out there just yesterday, it's still got 6 or 8 inches of water in it. So we know there's a restriction, we don't know if it's in the road, and we don't know exactly where it's at, but it's south of the box. But if we can look at, just take a peek into the one in Greenwood, that would tell us whether we have a restriction further south or whether it's north. It's a real simple check. And Tim Doshi says it's a matter of taking 16 inches of soil off and looking, and you've been out there, they've had repair requests on that. I guess Tim said that he's even got a pail over it now or something like that. It's sucking.
There's a plan to replace that this fall,
Right,
that junction box
but the
from
problem
his
is, don't
request.
you think you should coordinate that if the slough's gonna put in new tile?
I don't think that junction box specifically has anything to do with the Union Slough project.
It's the system.
Yeah,
when
but
I
that,
look
but
at
that
it,
repair request
you know,
was
when
for
you,
that.
when you start
box.
looking at the history records, there's been very little repairs south of that. What I call the south box in section 30, Harrison 36. I've read the record. And there's like 3 repair requests total on that tile south of there. And then most of the repairs come clear down the ditch, just cleaning it out so the water can move. So the deal is, if they're gonna replace that main up there, and it looks to me like they got a pile of fall going into 7. I'm thinking you don't wanna lay the pipe. If you could lay that pipe deeper in Harrison to get you a better outlet north, wouldn't you wanna do that, Rich?
Definitely.
You know, I think everybody up there would want to do it, you know what I mean? So what I'm saying is let's take a peek in that, see if we still have a restriction. If there's a restriction there, we gotta find the restriction, because that 30 is not operating to its full capacity. That's all I'm saying.
Then that would need to be requested.
I requested a repair for the restriction. I already got that in there. But I don't.
You had filled out number 58, says investigate lateral 11 tile per your request, and the map was attached, which I don't have that here. But your request, if my memory serves correctly, was to investigate whether there's a 36-inch tile going into the north end of that ditch, which has recently been filled in, and you had made the accusation.
No, I
that
said that
there's
there was a
36.
restriction. I want to find the restriction, and I used McClure's map because they got a 32-inch tile coming into a 16. And I said, that's where your restriction's at.
That's the date. June 23rd. I will find the email here.
I put that in, we already knew that pipe was not moving. You know what I mean? So I just looked at the map and, what, geez, they put a 32 and hooked it to a 16, and you can't find the 16 at the outlet.
The map isn't correct.
Yeah, I know that. I don't reckon we'll do that for it. But the thing is, we have a restriction. You cannot deny that.
I'm not gonna argue that point with you, but the old map's not correct. You know
That's right. And I don't disagree with you. But I will say that 30-inch, according to what I've seen, it's restricted somewhere. When we know it's south of the south box on 36.
been restricted for quite a long time.
Well, I'm just telling you, we just gotta investigate it. I don't care how long it's been restricted. That's what I wanted to have looked at with my repair request. I want to make that clear today. That we don't have to spend a whole lot of engineering fees.
We don't have to have, you know, show an engineer to investigate.
That's right. And North Island Drainage is right there.
That's fine.
You've
No,
got, I just don't want to see a bunch of money spent.
I would not have, investigation of this magnitude go out and dig some holes up. That makes no sense to me. We've televised.
Cover the box in Greenwood.
If,
Take a look to see if that East 32 is running, or 30 or whatever it is coming in there. What's wrong with that?
if you want the whole system checked out to see where the restriction is, it should be dug up and televised, which I've done in multiple other districts. It is efficient.
That's a lot of money. I know we got dead water. All you got to do is find out where the water isn't dead. You can go to that box and save a mile of investigating to know. Then you know whether you gotta go north of the box or south of the box in Greenwood one.
How
Why
often,
don't you wanna do that and save us some money instead of just taking our checkbooks and throwing our money around, making buddies with it?
your accusations are baseless.
Well, we.
How
Though, Kyle, why can't they go in and look at that?
Because it's much more cost effective to dig it up.
Yeah.
What about
It's
the-
literally, it's more honesty factors. They don't want looking at that.
You ain't
Do
paying
what?
a damn bill. That's the way you are. You don't pay your bill.
What about the other supervisors? That's still.
No, it's not uncommon to open up,
And they said, if it's north or south of there.
How often are you going to dig it up?
I just wanna look in that box right now. Then we'll know which way to go from there. What's wrong with that? You have a.
I'm not saying you can't start there, but digging it up every 100 feet is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you said dig it up every 100 feet. He
Well,
wants
you're
to know
not-
if it's north or south of that box that's in Mary
Then you
Humble.
narrow it down to a mile. If it's north, it could be under the road.
I don't see any problem with that. You can run a camera in either direction if that's.
You're gonna have to file a request to look at it
Yeah.
because your original request doesn't give us the authority to do that.
Well, make that request here after the meeting.
So I would like to make someone to explain.
File a request to have it dug and then say no camera, put it right in your request and we will dig it.
Okay. Technically,
It's not uncommon to do an
I
investigation.
mean,
I would say they better replace the box if she did with it.
You still
Right.
can't do
If
it.
you look at it, and-
Once we can open it up, you can see there and what's going on south of there.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Once you look in that box, you're gonna have an idea if there's a problem further north or south. But otherwise, it could be under the road, you dig up by the road, see what the tile looks like there. A camera would be nice, but a camera gets high priced too. If you got a camera sitting there, you got somebody digging and the guy with the camera sits and watches the guy dig for a while. Then the guy that digs watches the guy with the camera. When you're paying
Well,
$300
The
an
problem
hour.
is if the tile is full of water, you can't put a camera down there.
That's right, and there's also mud in tile, and the camera that was used up on 36. He could get it in ways, and there were other restrictions there. But it was also, there's mud in the bottom in places, the camera's not gonna go.
Yeah, we've done, I mean.
And that was the point of
Years, we've done that quite often, done investigated things like that.
See where it's at here and further, you don't know when you start, hopefully you find a restriction and
Right,
figure it out. If it's flowing on the south end, you get to a point, it's not flowing to the north, you know the problem.
right.
Between those two
Yeah.
points, then you dig in between, narrow it out, you don't have to
Well,
dig.
Joe, you just put in a request.
Okay, we'll square it with you guys. We're all on the same page, but I don't want a whole lot of money spent on just take a look at it. That's all there is to it. You got a guy with equipment right in the section. And he's
Is it
doing a good job.
possible when somebody's out there doing this checking that we can be notified, so we can see what's going on?
I'll put your number on the request so that they can call us when they're out there.
Because I've investigated this thing for 15, 20 years.
But yeah,
County's been out digging a couple times, they dig down the tile, it's full of water. It's the wrong time to dig it. The only time my question is after it's raining.
right.
Yeah, I've.
The map you attach,
You know,
And it's gonna be raining sometimes.
planners call me when they're out there so that, you know, I go out, when they dig it up, I quite often gone out when they dug it up, so I can be there in person when they look at it too.
You're right, into that.
Kyle or Rogers,
The-
you know.
the map that you attached in your email on May 26th specifically highlights a restriction within 1,000 feet of the old end of the ditch.
Well.
That is not at all what you're talking about here. That's,
Looking at clear, man.
but
And
that's,
so, before I started looking, there's a high probability if you stick a 32 on a 16, that's gonna be a restriction. Now, you guys approved the map, McClure's approved the map, so I gotta go by the map. And I realize the maps can be off, okay? Now, I'm not finding the 16 relief out there that's on the map on either side of those pipes.
my
You
point
know.
is